All right. Right back to it. If you watched the last episode, we're just smooth sailing right into episode number 5.
Wow.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Shout out to the production team. Shout out to Joe, and shout out to myself. We're actually following through with something. This is crazy. Building some momentum. It's getting scary out. Scary hours, as some people like to say.
People don't want Nadeshot to cook. You know, people are scared of what might happen when you start cooking.
All right, Joe.
So I'm just leaning
off to the worst possible start.
I'm just jazzed up, right? I'm leaning into the gas.
Yeah, last episode was great, man. We talked about Ja Morant, Valorant, CSGO 2, and we were almost about to talk about the Oscars. You know what? I don't really pay attention to a lot of these Academy Awards, but I feel like with the Oscars around, you gotta tune in, at least for a snapshot of it. I think the best picture is something that I always look to. And anytime there's an Oscars, I'm like, okay, some of these movies that are up for Best Picture I haven't seen yet, so maybe I got something to dive into after this.
Yeah, I mean, Oscars, honestly, as like a production is pretty ass, I think. Like, it's pretty fucking boring.
It's like 80 or 90 years of history of some of the best and brightest when it comes to production. And you're just, this fucking sucks. You guys are morons. What?
Well, you know, I think they were sniffing their own farts a little too much lately.
It's wild to see because Jimmy Kimmel's hosting, and just like this last week, he had like a public spat with like Tucker Carlson, and everybody that's like right wing thinks that he is a left wing shill. You know, just continuing to move this propaganda forward and yada yada whatever.
Yeah,
I like Jimmy Kimmel, but I don't watch him.
Yeah.
And I can't speak to all the political bullshit that he's been involved in. But from the surface level, knee-jerk reaction, I think Jimmy Kimmel is like funny.
But I haven't seen his shit in a few years, but back when I still used like Facebook.
The Man Show that he used to do.
What was that?
It was just, I actually don't remember, but it was on Comedy Central all the time. It was like Jimmy Kimmel just being a fucking idiot. I mean, it was called The Man Show.
But he used to have great clips on Facebook back in the day. That's where I'd get.
Were you playing Farmville with your grandma on Facebook?
Taking a shit.
Oh, okay. Just scrolling through Facebook?
Yeah, back in the day, I used to have a really nice algorithm on Facebook of just like completely random stuff because all my likes were from when I was like 14 years old. And so I'd have like a very different For You page.
Business aside, I wonder if Mark Zuckerberg hates what Facebook has become. You know, apart from the place in the stars they are when it comes to social media platforms and revenue and everything that Facebook and Meta will turn into. I'm sure he's like really optimistic about the business, but I wonder if it drives him fucking crazy that Facebook is a platform that everybody hates now. Like no young kids are using Facebook.
Well, it's really big internationally.
I know, but I feel like if I were the Zuck, there would be...
Don't cuck the Zuck.
Yeah, don't cuck the Zuck. I would just be a little jaded about the fact that it's not considered like a tier 1 social media app in a lot of young North American kids' routine.
I agree. I feel like for him, though, you could kind of just see over the life cycle of like Facebook and even purchasing Instagram and what they were doing. Like he definitely cared about it, but now I feel like he has evolved into like, I don't even know what a comparison would be, but essentially what I'm trying to say is I feel as though he has just given up on Facebook now and has just gone, obviously he's gone like all in on VR, but for him, I feel as though Facebook is just like in the rear view mirror and he's probably got some operator.
Brother, for the life of me, I don't understand. Bro, if I was Zuckerberg, I wouldn't even be in the weeds, man. I'd just be enjoying my billions of dollars doing fuck all. I mean, at a certain point, I feel like when you have that much money, you're not really playing the game that you started. I mean, everybody's trying to achieve their dreams and be successful, but he's done all that he's needed to do. And I'm sure if he were to set Facebook aside and just go live his life, he'd probably be incredibly bored. You're not playing the same game anymore. You're playing the game of, I just want to win at life and make Facebook and Meta the biggest it could possibly be. But from where I'm sitting, from my shoes, if I were Zuck, I would not be fucking around going on stand at the fucking Supreme Court dealing with all the bullshit that comes with his job.
I tell you what, though, because like as you just mentioned, the level he's at, what he's ascended to from like a net worth perspective, he's got to be just having a great time, like playing the game of life. Like you said, there's no way he can just chill on a supervillain yacht and enjoy himself. Like a dude like that.
Just hardwired different.
He's just wired differently. Exactly. I mean, even the Supreme Court stuff, he was probably fucking loving that. Like,
yeah, until
it's like I got the government coming after me.
He really does have some reptilian tendencies, though. I mean, brother, you can't blink or drink water like a normal human being. I mean, the guy should just pop a Xanax before he goes in and just relax a little bit or something, because he just feels and looks uncomfortable no matter where he goes.
Pop a Blue Chew, maybe.
I think the Blue Chew might do the opposite, Joe.
Or just get that blood moving, you know?
I wonder if they're. I don't know where the reptilian conspiracy started. I do have a lot of conviction that there is like a new world order that exists in some capacity or another, just pulling all the strings.
Oh, it's been around 100%.
But
I'm 100%. There's some. Now I'm getting into.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. As soon as you started, your eyes lit up and you were so excited, and that was when I was disappointed in myself for even
this just turns into
conspiracy theory.
This turns into a conspiracy theory podcast.
Yeah, we need to do that at night when we've got like the weed pen or something.
Yeah,
that would be more productive than us just focus and dialed out of our minds. You've got 3 Juvees in the saddle. I'm already through 2. It's not even 10 a.m.
I got crazy eyes.
Yeah. We got blue shoes in us.
I got Steve Buscemi, little daddy eyes. Or
Big Daddy.
Mr. Deeds vibe.
Yeah, Mr. Deeds. Are you sure he wasn't just waving to you? Oh. He put some sort of spell on me.
Yeah. All right, well,
Catch you later, Deeds.
God damn it.
I'm coming in.
Yeah. Speaking of which, are you would you ever get a blue raspberry Juvee water fountain in your home?
We actually made a joke about doing that as a bit for Juvee, because we have a filtered water like bar tap situation where you can go get sparkling or still, and it's purified like 20 times over. We were thinking about doing something like that, but we never did.
Would be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool. Sounds like
I would feel less guilty.
You need to champion this project.
I would feel less guilty about just like nuking your fridge every time I'm over and drinking like 3 Juvees.
Oh no, you nuke my Cokes too. Like Haley buys me these beautiful, cute little like 12-ounce Coke bottles. You know, the polar bears are fucking around in Antarctica with.
I mean,
and you just raid my shit.
It's a bottle of glass Coke. What do you expect from me? I only have so much willpower.
No, I respect the fact that you ask every time, but the one time you didn't, I just stared you down like, hey, motherfucker, we're getting comfortable here, huh? Because then I got to hear it from Haley. Can you just ask Joe to only drink one? You go back for seconds. I'm like, so dude, but you're overstaying. You're welcome here.
It's so funny. The time we had dinner and Shibby and Ellen and all of them were over and I brought the Cokes out.
Oh, I looked at him like with so much pain in my eyes. Like, hey, motherfuckers, stop like just gifting these things are valuable around here. We can't just be giving everybody Coke.
I mean, you got to
go to 7-Eleven, get a fucking 2-liter. Don't give them my bottles.
You got a taco spread. You got probably $100 in flank steak. You got chicken. You got rice. But
Haley cooked the meal, and you have no problem sacrificing our Cokes. Just like, hey, everybody gets you're like throwing it at fucking people. They don't even want one.
Probably a $250 spread to feed everybody, but we draw the line at the $3 Cokes.
Got to draw the line somewhere, Joe.
That's fair. You got to put your foot down. You got to put your foot
Everybody's
down.
eating for free, drinking Cokes for free. Like,
it ain't a soup kitchen, you know.
No soup for you.
But all right, well, let me. We're gonna put it in reverse. We're gonna go back to the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
So, Oscars, like I was saying briefly, I think it's been pretty bad these last few years. Part of it too, though, is not their fault, given COVID and having to try and put a production on with all of that. But also, I am most excited, or more excited than I've been in the past few years for the Oscars this year, just because I feel as though the quality of movie is like is almost back to where it was like pre-COVID, where you have Top Gun finally coming out. All these massive movies were just basically put in the chamber until people could go back to movie theaters. And so I'm very excited. But off of that, I want to pull up Best Picture noms for you here.
Yeah, it's the only ones I care about.
Yeah.
Rifle them off. I'm sure I've heard of the majority of them, but I thought you would have it on your little spreadsheet here. What's going on? You got a Google?
I mean, there's a lot, so.
All right. Well, isn't there usually like 7 to 8? Yeah, just let them rip.
10.
Rapid fire. Give me the film names.
Top Gun Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
Women Talking. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That was an incredible film.
That was fucking awesome.
That was incredible.
Banshees of Inisherin, which I have not seen, but I heard is very good.
Well, that was actually probably the best case example for what I was saying about high critic scores and low audience scores. With that cast, like one of my favorite movies of all time is In Bruges, or Bruges. I don't know how you pronounce it,
that's right.
but it's Colin Farrell, same director as the Banshee film. And I was so excited when I saw the preview, but then I looked up reviews, and this is where I would let somebody make the case against me. Like, hey, you can't just make informed an opinion about a movie just because the Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm not saying that that's a perfect system, but I'm kind of stuck in my own ways. I heard that movie was supposed to be really good, but everybody I've talked to said it was fucking terrible.
Oh, really?
And I just can't imagine with that director, with that cast, that it would be bad. But I'm glad to, maybe I need to give it an opportunity, give it a chance.
I'm definitely going to watch it.
What's that called? Everything
Everywhere All at Once.
That movie blew my fucking mind.
That was awesome. The Fablemans. Haven't seen it. Directed by Steven Spielberg.
I watched it. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I don't think it should win Best Picture unless you really, talk about the cinematography and how they set up each shot and just the inners, the nuance of the film. But it was good. I don't think it would ever win Best Film.
Then we have All Quiet on the Western Front, foreign language film.
That's on Netflix. Every time I see it, I'm like, okay, we got a war film. Probably don't have a good shot at convincing Haley to watch this, but I've heard it's good. Definitely want to watch it.
I thought it was pretty mid.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was a lot of nothing. It was basically the movie explores like the harsh reality of World War I for like all these kids who are super excited to sign up and go to the front, and then they realize it is like the worst place ever.
Hell on earth.
Yeah, exactly. So from that perspective and what they were going for, I think they did a really good job, but it's 3 hours long and like not a ton happens. So
that one's more about the sentiment and the art and of what war actually is and the profiling of what these soldiers had to go through.
Yeah.
Really pulls on like the empathy and the heartstrings, but not like a great build up, climax, good ending.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a war movie.
I
have a pretty harsh opinions and takes on war movies. Like I know everybody loved Dunkirk. I didn't think it was bad, but it definitely wasn't even in my top 5 war movies of all time.
No, I agree. I thought it was not very good, but
these are going to be some pretty polarizing takes. I don't think everybody's going to agree with us, but yeah. All right. All Quiet on the Western Front. Just okay, I guess.
Mid in being more critical of it solely because it's nominated and what it's being compared to here on this list. But we also have Avatar, The Way of Water, and Elvis, and
I love the Elvis movie.
Tar.
And what was the last one?
Tar.
Haven't seen it, haven't heard of it.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what. Going back to what you were talking about, where movies are finally getting back to where they were, or the caliber of movies that we expect from Hollywood. Matt Damon talked about the fact that the way that movies are monetized now and the fact that we don't have DVD sales, movies like Good Will Hunting and some of the great films that we saw in the late 90s and early 2000s, those will probably never exist ever again. I feel like you could throw a rock into a lake and wherever it hits, if that lake hypothetically was a lake of films. You like this, Joe?
Okay.
A lake of films, it would land on something incredible. But nowadays, it's few and far between. Like when I'm on Apple TV and I'm looking at top movies, when you watch and finally get one that's available for rent or purchasing, and it's a banger, you're waiting months for another. So I'm actually surprised to see how many blockbuster films are on there. I just wouldn't expect Avatar 2. I know it's James Cameron. I know it's the third grossing movie of all time now. So you kind of have to give it its flowers and its place as Best Picture. But something like Top Gun, you know, and more times than not, I feel like Best Picture for the Oscars of The Village Idiot is somebody who does not follow it intensely. I'm just surprised that there are, you know, the Hollywood blockbusters, there's so many on this list.
Yeah. And for additional context on the Matt Damon stuff, basically what he was saying is that
can't make the money the same way anymore, right?
a lot of these like more dramatic, like niche story arcs in movies, a lot of the money they would gross was just from DVD sales. Yeah. Whereas now with on-demand and even just more so streaming platforms, there's no DVD sales anymore. It's solely based on what you make at the box office. And with Marvel and everything they're doing, a lot of these movies are just being phased out at these studios because they're just not worth the investment. Everybody's going for these big action films that'll sell tickets. So
if I were on the Oscars panel between all of those films on that list, barring with it in mind that I haven't seen quite a few of them, I would give it to Everything Everywhere All at Once or Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. I think going off of that as well, I think those are really the only two runners. Everything Everywhere All at Once was phenomenal. And the story behind it too, with them promoting like this full Asian cast, and I can't remember what award show just happened.
It's a full Asian cast because it's a Korean film, one.
Yeah, but between like Parasite winning and then whatever the last award
Parasite
show,
was phenomenal. Oh my fucking God. I watched that movie like 4 or 5 times.
That movie's unbelievable. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, we'll have to find it and put it in here. But they basically just were the first film for they won Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Picture. And it was all Asian led. And it was like a big milestone.
And what award show?
That's what I got to figure out. Whatever. I want to say it was Emmys or Golden Globes. I think okay. Regardless.
Those would be my top 2 picks. If I had to guess which one would win, I probably am not even close to the right galaxy. Just with my luck, neither of those two would win. I would give it. I loved Top Gun. I really did love Tom Cruise, Miles Teller. I had just watched the original to get Haley up to speed, and I wasn't sure how they would fuse and mold together the feel of like an 80s, 90s action movie and bring it to modern day and pay homage to that film and what had happened. I thought it was unfucking believable, dude. That was one of the few movies that I've seen in recent history where I told myself I have to go back to the theater just to watch it again. But in terms of the full package and start to end and what it was, I have to give my Oscars win. If I were on the panel and the judges, I would have picked Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was really, I didn't know what to expect. My favorite movie experiences is when something like that pops up, I don't watch a trailer for it, and I have no expectation. No, I mean, nowadays, I know this is a common complaint. I swear to God, trailers nowadays, I used to love watching previews in the movies. I would love to get there early before YouTube existed. I mean, that was prime time. I'm like, we need to get there 30 minutes early just to make sure we're in our seats with our popcorn and our drinks before these previews start. And nowadays, they just share too much. I feel like you can delineate what's going to happen in the film just through the 2.5 minutes they give you. But I didn't know what the fuck I was walking myself into with Everything Everywhere All at Once. That would be my winner.
Okay. Well,
if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I will say I'm going to predict Top Gun Maverick because what I was essentially alluding to, talking about the Matt Damon stuff and everything else, Steven Spielberg came out, basically publicly announced like Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick may have potentially saved like movies in the movie industry.
Yeah.
Reason being, again, talking about Marvel and everything they're doing, Top Gun is the first movie in a minute that is just an actual story and it's not just full of CGI to just absolutely dominate, gross over $1 billion, massive production, and everybody loved it. And it was like a real movie again, very limited CGI.
I've heard that quote before. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely before Avatar 2 release in theaters. It was the first movie where hey, you need to go watch this in theaters, not only because it's a requirement for us as a studio that produced it, but you are doing yourself a disservice if you watch this on your TV at home.
Yeah. So I think it was a great movie. I think it would win solely based off of that, but also I think the Academy is definitely going to give it to him.
I love how Tom Cruise has had just this redemption arc in the last like 5 to 10 years. Did you just spill your spitter on your MacBook?
There's nothing in there, but
Good.
yeah, I kicked it over.
I love how we just ignore all the crazy that Tom Cruise was, and when he went through his triumphant come up in the entertainment industry and all this Scientology bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we just ignore that, give him a pass. Like, he's a fucking lunatic, but holy shit, is he an unbelievable actor. I mean, even all the Mission Impossibles, all these new stunts that he keeps releasing, every way that he promotes his movies. I mean, he really is one of the last dying breed of larger than life. This guy is the definition, the quintessential action movie star. And this guy's in his 60s, and he continues to just push the envelope. And holy shit,
did you see
psychopath, but man, is he good at what he does. I feel like if you're really good at what you do and enough people care about it, nobody fucking cares how crazy you actually are. I mean, I don't think Ja Morant has earned that ability yet, but I wonder what this is going to be a complete sidebar. I wonder what people's perception of LeBron James would be and would have been throughout his career if social media didn't exist. You know, I don't have any ill will against LeBron James. I think he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, if not the greatest basketball player of all time. But I feel like the fact that we've gotten to know him so personally through his posts on social media, and you get to peer into his life and his psyche and how he carries himself, I feel like that has stained his legacy, or at least has altered the perception of his legacy. And so you'll never look, I mean, if people are diving deep into the world of basketball and you can really separate yourself from what LeBron James is as a person outside of the game compared to who he is in the game, there's no denying the fact that he's a fucking killer. I mean, that man is, again, one of the greatest of all time. But I just feel like his antics on social media and some of the things that he says, and I'm not a big fan of like the self-consuming, oh, King James, I'm the king, yada, yada, yada. Like the Lakers are going through such a terrible time right now in that franchise's history, and a lot of must-win games. They've been plagued with injuries. The team never turned out to what everybody expected it to be. And they've got videos of this guy, you know, partying at a Kendrick Lamar concert in the off. Like, he just feels like he's taking his victory lap. You know, I just don't, you know, when they lost a really important game a few months back or a few weeks back, and he put out a tweet or an Instagram post where he's like, is it just me? Maybe I'm the problem. Like, dude, come on, man. I know you might have those thoughts, but some of those thoughts you just don't share. I just feel like for the impact that he has on basketball and the talent and skill that he has honed and shared with the world, I think he gets caught up in the narrative of MJ versus King James, and he's like fighting his own fight for the sake of winning people over. But it's like similar to the situation Ja Morant. Like, brother, you don't have to act or try to get the hood to welcome you back. Brother, you've done everything that every person in their right mind, they want to be where you are. You don't have to say anything else. You don't have to do anything else. You don't need to remind anybody of what you're actually about and who you actually are. And I just feel like Instagram and Twitter and just how connected LeBron James is to the basketball and the world more broadly, him fighting his own fight has sort of altered and changed the level of respect I think people have for what he's done for the game of basketball.
You got to remember, though, too, MJ at this point in his career was Washington Wizards MJ, right? LeBron is, you talk about like victory lap, sure, maybe he's like chilling, but the dude is what, like 37, 38 years old? You know, for how much he's done, I mean, like I can't fault him for that either.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I think that Washington Wizards comparison is a great example. I mean, he's the same age as Michael Jordan was at that time of his career, and he's still expected to be like an MVP candidate and carry teams to victory. I'm not questioning his basketball ability or how he should act right now in this moment in time. I just wonder, you know, I wish we could go through like a hypothetical simulation of what people's opinions and the level of respect they have for LeBron James, if it would be different if he didn't have access to social media. Because he's just so fucking good. I just wish he was the fucking guy. Like, he didn't have to make so much emphasis on how good he is.
You wish you actually
through the things that he says.
You wish you actually had less exposure.
I wish he was like the guy who never said a fucking word, just went out and played, and that aura of his ability and the impact that he has on the teams that he plays for and the game that he plays across the league.
Yeah.
I wish he was just
like Kawhi.
Like John fucking Wick. Or Jason Bourne.
John Wick.
You know, like this completely fictional character of doesn't give a fuck about what anybody says, and he just is the fucking best, and you can't question that for a second.
Yeah. I'll say as well,
John Wick had his dog killed, didn't say a fucking word, just killed people.
It's like Kawhi. Kawhi's the same, like, never says anything in interviews, just goes out. I mean, more so like Toronto Raptors Kawhi, but
Kawhi gets set up though because of his laughing.
Yeah.
You know what
Everybody
I mean?
loves Kawhi though.
Yeah.
But
a lot of these players nowadays, even like Kyrie. Kyrie is one of the most like artistic basketball players. I mean, it is like the game of motion. It is an art of what he does on that court. But because of all this flat earth bullshit and the COVID vaccinations and all of this shit that really is out of his control beyond how he reacts to it, I just don't think that people give Kyrie this respect that he deserves. Even like on these boats in the offseason with all these white girls, like, oh, he doesn't talk to black girls, yada, yada, yada. There's no way for them to have privacy. So I guess it's unfair for me to want to know what it would have been like if it were in a different era of time and technology. These guys, I can't imagine when you have millions of people just chirping at you and have so much access. I don't know how I would react. So there's no world to understand how it would be, but I just think that modern day pressures have stained the level of respect and identity of who LeBron and Kyrie and even the other players across the league.
Yeah, I would agree. JJ Redick had a take.
This podcast has been incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. But he had a take right after LeBron broke the scoring record where he talks pretty much about the exact same thing, where he's like, you know, LeBron has been stuck in this comparison to MJ, and everybody's always hating on him, and talks about like a little bit about social and
brother. After he beat the score record, he was in like a box seat of some game, and the camera pans over to him, and he takes like a fake crown and puts it over his head, and I think he thinks that people love it.
Also, the
like, brother, why, dude? We know, we fucking know. You don't have to. It just.
Yeah, the baby powder too before every game. He just puts it in his hand and like throws it up like his like signature thing.
Well, that's something he's been doing for a long time. But yeah, that is definitely like, I'm the main character.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody look at me. But in his defense though, I think it's really easy for us to pick apart the things that he could have done better. But I think we need to put a spotlight on the things that he has done really well.
Well,
he's never been caught up in controversies pretty much throughout his entire career, besides maybe like a couple Instagram messages.
Yeah.
He's got kids that he clearly loves so dearly, and he's trying to propel them into the NBA. Some people argue that it kind of hurts him, like, oh, you're putting way too much pressure on these kids. But he knows his children. He knows how to act.
Yeah.
And what he's been for basketball, not getting caught up in any bullshit throughout his lifetime. I mean, you got to tip the cap to that. But the other thing is he shared a drawing or a sketch of Bart Simpson that he did. And he talked about the fact, this actually plays into what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
He shares this sketch, and he said that I used to do this so much when I was in high school. Really just started my career in the pressures of basketball. This was like a great way for me to have some therapy, time by myself, just to have a hobby that's my own and nobody can judge me or talk about it. I mean, you got to understand, a lot of celebrities or entertainers like Britney Spears or these young child stars that seemingly like half of them grow up to just be a fucking mess, just absolutely crazy, or at least the public's perception of crazy. I mean, this man has literally had the spotlight on him since he was like 14 or 15 years old. So he had a young childhood that was unaltered by the public, but beyond that, once you get into high school, can you imagine somebody telling you when you're that young that if you aren't a first-class Hall of Famer, first-round ballot, your career is going to be a failure or considered to be a failure? I mean, nobody in their right mind, nobody in this room, nobody outside of this room, nobody in the world could ever put themselves in the shoes of LeBron James. So you have to give him an out there in some capacity or another.
I mean, yeah, they literally called him the chosen one before he ever stepped foot on an NBA court. Like, the expectations of LeBron has not been met with any other athlete to this day since then. But
besides maybe Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
That Tiger Woods interview where this fucking old head is so upset with the fact that Tiger Woods thinks he can come out as like a brand new professional, or maybe he was even an amateur at the time. Like, you really think that you can win this tournament? You think that you're going to be able to compete for a fucking trophy and a check at the end of this?
Mm-hmm.
And Tiger's like, yeah, like, why would I go play the tournament if I don't think I can win it? And this guy's like, oh, well, you're going to learn. And then it just hits the hard-ass TikTok montage of this motherfucker's career.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. But
going off of that, I mean, Tiger's in the same boat of like an athlete with a bunch of controversy in his past, but everybody kind of just brushes that under the rug just because of how much of like a competitor he is. But last thought on LeBron is, and what I wanted to say earlier, yeah, like, LeBron hasn't done anything wrong, and he's been honestly like a perfect like role model where you have nothing else to really pick at except for his personality. And because of the age we're in, I mean, the media, that's all that, I mean, they're reaching for straws. That's all they can pick at. So that's all they've been picking at for 20 years now.
Man, either way, can't disrespect his greatness and how unbelievable of a basketball player he's been, and we can never put ourselves in his shoes of what those pressures would feel like. So I think from that lens alone, you need to, I got to get off his back. I mean, I like like LeBron James. I just always play with that thought of, I just have a sour taste in my mouth sometimes when he does certain things. But I mean, the kid is, the sketch, the reason why I brought up the sketch is people were arguing that this kid never really had like a real teenage, formative. I mean, the amount of change that I've had between the ages of like 15 to 30,
mm-hmm.
and I've got to do that in my own vacuum. It's unbelievable. Like, your opinion on the world and the person that you want to be and how you carry yourself every single day. Everybody's complaining, oh, we can't give him that same respect. Like, I would trade places with him in a heartbeat. Well, motherfucker, you can't. Mm-hmm. So we have to be empathetic in some way or another. So
yeah,
man, I'm really rooting for Brice and Bronny James, dude. I hope they can become. Everybody likes to poke and prod and make jokes about the fact, oh, he's not actually All-American, and then his draft stock went up. Like, he could be drafted top 10 a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
Look, man, there's no way, no matter how popular LeBron James is, that he can buy these opinions of these scouts and just have such a impact on this entire world of professional basketball and how people perceive Bronny James. He's doing that through his own play, whether you like to admit it or not. Mm-hmm. I know he's not this high-flying scorer in high school that we've seen in the past from the next up D1 5-star prospects. I think he's going to be, from the Village Idiot basketball analysis, he can be an incredible player in the NBA. Yeah. He might not be throwing up 40 points a game, but you got to give the time to grow. He's got an unbelievable athletic ability. You watch these high school mixtapes, he really understands the game, how to space out the floor, how to be a team player, and he wants to win. So without the expertise of what you guys would probably go to from somebody in the world of basketball and their opinion, I think there's definitely a world where Bronny's going to be an incredible player in the NBA, and I hope it pans out.
He might not be LeBron, but he very much could be like Alonzo Ball. Like, that's like his best comp right now. People are comparing him a lot to Drew Holiday, but
I've seen the Drew Holiday comparison.
I think
it's not a bad place to be in the NBA.
No, exactly. So,
and Brice is, the same height as LeBron now.
He fucking shot up. Everybody now is like, yo, Brice might actually be like that guy.
Yeah, everybody in Instagram comments, Brice is going to be so much better than Bronny.
Yeah.
Man, I find it so fucking amazing when professional athletes have kids and they grow up and follow that same passion. Like my obsession with Charlie Woods has no bounds. I mean, I search Charlie Woods on Twitter probably about once a time every single month just to see if he's playing in any tournaments, any updates.
Yeah.
Because that kid's swing is so pure.
Dude.
The amount of disappointment and how angry I was before this PMC, father-son tournament that they have every year. Everybody was talking about how excited they were for him to play, and then he has this ankle injury, so he's not really swinging the way that he should be.
Yeah.
I was so fucking mad that I'm like, can we just get both these guys at full strength? I mean, his father and son are literally limping across this golf course, but I just love when professional athletes have kids and they try to follow in the same footsteps, man.
You think when
Carlos Boozer, his sons are like 14
Nasty.
years old, just fucking disgusting.
they're nasty.
And Carlos Boozer was never like the guy. He was a really great fucking player, played for the Bulls for a little bit. But
Carmelo Anthony's son too.
yeah, Carmelo Anthony's son is balling out. Man, it's fucking amazing.
If you do you think that this is super speculative, but do you think that when Charlie Woods gets of age to have like his PGA card, do you think Liv is going to come in with like $100 million offer for him?
It'll never happen. No world where Charlie Woods will ever play on the Live Tour. I mean, Tiger's come out and said that Mo Norman needs to go. Like, we cannot have these motherfuckers are trifling. We cannot have no world where Charlie Woods will ever play on the Live Tour.
Yeah.
Because now he has to follow the same footsteps as Tiger. Maybe not from a performance. He's not going to go out win like 90 tournaments. I mean, there's a world where he could, world where he couldn't.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's sort of a path that he's going to need to follow and take on the tradition and the impact that Tiger had as a player on and off the course. So no world will he'll ever play for Liv.
Well, speaking of other people with big platforms,
Okay.
Mr. Beast.
What about him?
He's getting
Jimmy, the GOAT. That motherfucker is on another level.
Oh, yeah. But Twitter's been pretty fucking funny. What?
I'm glad you brought this up. The Feastables shit on the shelves.
Yeah. Exactly. So basically, rundown, Jimmy tweeted out, Mr. Beast tweeted out, hey, if you guys see like these Feastables displays at Walmart like all messed up, could you please like fix them? And in doing so, he's like, he's giving like $100,000 to charity. But
I actually love Jimmy. I love Mr. Beast. I have a ton of respect for him. I thought that tweet was kind of weird. Like, hey guys, if you're at Walmart, clean up the fucking shelves. I know he didn't mean it like that, but it could definitely come off as a little, I don't know, condescending in a way. I'm like, I might have kept that one in the drafts, but look how much dirt it has kicked up. Everybody's talking. I mean, we're sitting here talking about Feastables.
Literally.
These kids are fucking hilarious on Twitter. Like, send me $100,000 right now or I'm like shooting up this store.
Yeah. I have, I screenshot a couple tweets because you have obviously all the people that are trolling, but then I want to read you some of these and show you. Hey
guys, I know I have all these headlines of like, oh, I wouldn't sell my company for $1 billion right now, but can you motherfuckers help me out and clean up the stores?
Yeah.
Clean up the shelves of the Feastables if you see it.
At Mr. Beast, I caught this man after he bumped into a Feastables display at Walmart. I'm slowly poisoning him with gas, and he is begging for his life. Shall I finish him off, sir? And we'll pull this up on the vibe.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Yeah.
The internet is hilarious. Some of these kids, man, if they had the right platforms, swear to God, they'd be like the best stand-up comics.
Oh,
if they worked on some material.
It's so fucking
Twitter
funny.
Gets me howling. Like I showed you the tweet before this podcast started up about the CSGO 2 discussion. Somebody tweeted out a video of LeBron James dancing in the locker room. And they're like, these fucking Russians who've been playing Counter-Strike nonstop for the last 10 years, celebrating the fact that they're going to beat the living shit out of everybody on CSGO 2.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the internet is hilarious.
But with how tactile Jimmy is with everything he does, like his manager Reed has come out, talked about how, he'll have spent millions of dollars on videos and will shelf them because he doesn't like them. Do you think this is another just a Feastables promo that was super like tactical from him and did this on purpose to generate chatter?
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Mr. Beast knew what he was doing in some capacity. I don't know if he expected it to go this viral, but I mean, the guy is a marketing genius. Anything that he does turns to gold, seemingly so. So I don't think we can sit here through this lens and say that it wasn't intentional. I just feel like everything he does, there's got to be some connective tissue in his brain that leads him to, oh, this will be a really big moment and people will talk about this.
Yeah. Have you tried the chocolate bars?
I haven't tried the chocolate balls. Chocolate balls. No, I haven't
From the Harry
tried.
Potter cart?
They sent me the Feastables. I can't really eat chocolate as much as I used to love. My mom would always have like peanut butter cups, the small ones, and that gold foil I felt like I was a king because she'd keep them in the fridge, have a couple after school.
Yeah.
Or like a Hershey's Kiss, in that silver tin foil wrapping. I'd put one in my mouth, let it melt. I used to love chocolate. But now anything that's like too rich really unsettles my stomach, and I just have war in the bathroom the next day. So I love what he's done with Feastables. I mean, I think it's very different if you look at 100 Thieves and what we did with Juvee from like a consumer goods perspective. An energy drink's probably not the smartest route to take when you have such a big audience because it's so competitive. So I think from a business perspective, if he actually has like a deep passion and interest around chocolate, nobody would ever expect a competitor as big as he does with a community as large as they are to make a chocolate bar. So I'm sure it's really good, and Feastables is clearly crushing. Great business decision, but I haven't tried it. Not out of disrespect to Jimmy, because I'm a big fan of his personally and professionally. I just can't really eat chocolate like that anymore.
But you can eat mint chocolate chip and chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very different. It's not. It's different, but the same, I suppose. I'll never give up the chocolate ice cream, but having like an entire Willy Wonka chocolate bar melt in my mouth, I mean, I'm gonna have the runs for 24 hours. I ain't doing it. I won't fucking do it.
We're having chocolate pants.
Yeah, pretty much, brother. Yeah. I literally woke up. If I don't ever wake up in the middle of the night, and if I do, I don't remember it. I sleepwalk quite a bit. But I woke up at 5. I didn't know what time it was, but I knew it was still dark out. There was no like sunlight peering through the room. Fuck, I gotta go hit this bidet.
I'm curious too.
This bidet is the best investment I've ever made, man.
Oh, I mean, literally life changing.
Yeah.
But
and Ludwig came out with his own bidet.
Wait, actually?
Yeah, Ludwig launched a bidet like a couple months back.
Oh, where'd you get that? The toilet store?
I don't know if
Yes,
a couple
actually,
$100 price point entry, that's off the beaten path. And I think anything that's like inherently unexpected from a creator, I think probably works a little bit better, at least from how people talk about it. I guess I just keep making comparisons of me and Juvee, maybe a little too on the nose, but it's doing great. And I'm really excited about something I've always wanted to do. A bidet, I'm like, okay, this could be smart, but I just don't know how many people are going to fork over a couple $100 to buy a bidet. It just feels a little too abstract. But.
Yeah. I'm curious too. A couple thoughts here, actually. First, for the ice cream, just before I forget, I'm actually curious, for those listening, are other people also in like their 20s to 30s, like having reactions to ice cream as well? Because
for sure.
Now that you were always talking about it, I can't eat ice cream anymore either. The last 2 times I've gone and gotten like a milkshake, within 20 minutes, I'm just on the toilet.
Brother, retweet. I used to pound a 2 hot dog special from Mickey's. It was a hot dog joint that was right on the corner, just a couple blocks away from where I grew up. I used to go there, get a chocolate shake, 2 hot dog special. It was fucking incredible. I used to slug back ice cream and milk shakes. I don't drink milk. I think it's gross by itself, but if it's in, dessert form, let me add it.
For sure.
But, brother, we're the only creatures that drink cow's milk. It's fucking insane. Like, we really shouldn't be, like, our bodies change. Like, the enzymes can't break it down. I think many people realize once you get into your late 20s, early 30s, your body does start changing, and it's not as resilient as it was when you're in your teens. So things that we shouldn't have been doing, but have been conditioned to do so through the media and
I kind of got a shit
food pyramid scheme.
Thinking about it. It's like I get a little PTSD now that we're talking about ice cream right now.
Brother, I bet lactate sales are up.
Oh, for sure. Lactose pills. That'd be a good business idea for you. Juvee, high ground, lactose pills, and boner pills.
Yeah. Okay. Really bringing your A game.
Yeah. But, so there's that. And then off of...
we get a butt counter in these podcasts from Joe. But that's your transition in the podcast and also real life.
I can't say like anymore, you know. So
yeah, you're doing a good job of that.
We're getting better.
Yeah, you're doing great. No. I wasn't. Stop being so fucking soft. Nah, I'm a dick.
No, I mean it's
fuck you, Joe.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, piece of shit.
You fucking suck. You fell off.
Yeah, motherfucker. Guess what? Who's sucking from my teat right now, brother?
All right, I quit. I'm out.
We'll see you. Anybody want to step in?
Yeah. Who from the comments on the
you gotta know
episode?
Where your leverage lies, Joe.
I got no leverage. What are you talking?
Exactly.
I got all the secrets. I'm going to actually never mind.
Going to come down.
That'd be awesome. So another transition, this is now that we're just rambling. Ludwig, we talked about the bidets. Him and Moist Esports. Have you talked about it all? Anything about that publicly and their
I haven't
take?
talked about it.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Moist Esports and their view and like lens on the esports industry, because it's obviously been under heat these last couple weeks.
I don't really know what Moist is up to. I truly, God's honest truth, I don't know who Moist Critical is and his background. Mm-hmm. And when I've said that before on stream and people were surprised. I used to sit on YouTube and Twitch all day before 100 Thieves, and there wasn't like a creator with over 1 million subs that I didn't know about. I felt like I was just so tapped into how do I get my thumbnails better? How do I make my content better? How can I take parallels between what other people are doing and extract it and insert it to my programming, what I do to just get bigger and better. But over the last 6 years with 100 Thieves, it's been so busy. There's just so many creators in the world of gaming and even beyond that I'm just not familiar with. So I'm not familiar with Moist Critical. Excuse me. Jesus. The pessimist in me does find it pretty fucking hilarious that Disguised Toast and Ludwig have both been like vocal about the fact that they think esports is a really stupid business. Like, how do these teams make money? And, you know, for me, I take it a little personally, just in my own closet of thoughts, my own vacuum of thoughts, because I'm like, okay, all right. You know, it's like every year these Force valuations comes out. One of my best friends, Fwiz, made a tweet like, these valuations are so grossly overestimated, and I think it's just like an atrocity. And me and Hector both on the teams, and it's one of our best friends. We're like, motherfucker, like what are you doing right now on social, brother? Like why? You know, I'm not going out like anytime YouTube fucks up when he was the head of gaming at YouTube and say, man, Twitch is so much better from a live streaming services perspective.
Yeah.
You know, so I always find that one funny. I always remember that. But like Ludwig and Disguised Toast made a couple tweets about like esports, how bad of a business is. I don't think you can boil it down to as direct as that. Yep. But they crack jokes about it. And those guys love to fuck around on social. So I don't actually take it personally, but I'm like, the competitor in me is just thinking, fuck, put a lid on it, you know? Yeah. But I think they're just seeing like the entertainment value and being a part of something bigger that has, you know, roads into professional gaming. Mm-hmm. You know, Tarek has had such a big success with these watch parties along with Scump, and gaming and professional esports. It's sort of like golf in my mind. Like explaining to people that when I was growing up, besides maybe Tiger Woods, I didn't really watch golf. It wasn't fun for me to, watch on television, but it was fun to play. Okay. And I think that's remains true with esports. Valorant, League of Legends, all these games that we've been watching are really fun to play. But unless you have a storyline that you're invested in or a professional player that you're a really big fan of, like F1 is the perfect example. As soon as you gave a constructive, comprehensive story about the politics between these teams and the drivers and the money, all of a sudden the entire world is all in on F1. And it's like professional golf. If you don't really play the game or you don't know any of the personalities in the fight for, the top golfer in the world right now at the majors and the tournaments and the FedEx standings and everything like that, if you don't have something that's bringing you there, it's not as enjoyable. And so I think with esports, those guys want to be involved because they enjoy playing Valorant, and now they have something that makes them more invested, and they actually want to watch the tournaments, and it's that much more fun for them. So
yeah,
I don't know what's going to come of it. I just, if I look at it as a fan, I do find it very interesting and entertaining and funny in my mind that there's so many people that are vocal naysayers about the sports of esports or the business of esports.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not following the same path and the traditional raise capital, build a team, whether it works or not, whether esports is a sound business or not. I don't fucking care about that. They've definitely got it set up in the background where they're not making any financial investment. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But regardless of that, it's very low impact for them in terms of the work that they have to do, but high impact for their streams and their brand and how they're involved in something bigger than themselves. So I think it's actually really smart.
Yeah.
And I welcome it. Like, come on in, let's fucking go. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Like you said, tides raise all ships. And
yeah,
even like for me, I think it's really great to see just more content creators getting involved on the esports side, because esports was a world I was really unfamiliar with before coming to work here. And, I started following Twitch, and obviously I know you are a former professional gamer, and just seeing what you can do on Twitch and in COD lobbies and shit like that. But, it's just great to see more people bringing fans in and opening the door to esports to them, because like Valorant, for example, I fucking love watching competitive Valorant.
Yeah.
And I had no inkling to do so prior.
Get one of these Zins.
Get your stick. What was I going to say? But yeah, that's actually it. That's actually all I had to say.
You know what? For me, it kind of transitions my thought process. I talked about this on stream the other day. There's so many people that work in esports, whether it's for a team or a publisher, or they're just a fan in general. And again, this is just from my perspective. And I've been on both sides of the fence as a player, as an organization owner, and as a fan. I just feel like there's so many people that are outwardly vocal about how bad of a business esports actually is. And whenever there's controversy around a player, it's like, we got to burn these orgs down by the stake. And they don't create content the right way. Their strategy sucks. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. But for me, when I hear all that, it's just like everybody is wanting and wishing for these teams to fail. And they just continue to pile on all their shortcomings or the things that they could be doing better or the things that they do wrong. And I'm like, man, why does everybody want to find the negativity in everything that these organizations do? It sort of reminds me of Call of Duty, right? Where all of the players, including myself, are very destructive about the things that Call of Duty does wrong and why they're fucking up and how much we hate it. But now that rank play is here, I've made a point in my own mind to talk about it on stream, like how well of a job, how great of a job, and how unbelievable it is the fact that I can go online, play ranked, and have a great competitive experience. They finally gave it to us. And for all the years that I have begged and pleaded and gave criticism, I need to make sure that I speak my piece about how well they did, how great of a job they did.
Yeah.
And with esports, it's almost like, man, why do we want everyone else to fail? Even in the early days, like I made a tweet about FaZe Clan and how they misrepresented and mishandled situations like Tfue and Cloaksy. And that was a misstep for me, not because I had ill will against FaZe, because the founders, Banks and Tommy and Apex and Rain, I fuck with those guys so much, and I've told them this privately and publicly. But my tweet at that time came from a place of like, yo, I want people to know, like, I'm fucking like, hey, I'm waving the flag. Look how great 100 Thieves is. That was just the competitor and the selfishness out of me. And my tweets were about Seb and the former, executives that were running FaZe. I'm like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're making our lives harder on these contracts, X, Y, and Z. But I feel like now that I'm so far removed and been here for so long, my level of like wanting everybody to fail and for us to be the only team to succeed has changed so much, not only from a tides raise all ships perspective, but just because I feel like I've matured.
Yeah.
And people do change and opinions do change, and you get smarter, you get better. At least that's the hope. But it just seems like even employees at these companies and people that whose livelihood depends on the success of esports to actually have a job that they're passionate about, I just can't understand how and why they are just so vocally combative, and it just seems like they want all of this to fail. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, man, this shit is not going to be here forever if we continue to just tear each other down. So I'm not trying to sound like the high and mighty. I always want to say this. Like, I promise you, I know my place. I'm not trying to sound like I'm better than those and I have such a high sense of nobility and morality. You feel different on certain days, and certain things just make me wonder, like, why are people so fucking negative? It's just, I don't know.
It's hard to take, especially too, it's such a young industry, and it's hard to take the emotion out of it, I guess, when you're younger and don't have as much like life experience and such. But
yeah, I just think that the community in general needs to cut some of these organizations some slack, man.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I want to come close to this topic, but recently in these last 2 weeks, you have Danny with Evil Geniuses. That comes to find out that they mistreated or mishandled. He has he's on the spectrum in some capacity. I think he and everybody at the organization knew he was autistic, and I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, but for me, the empathy for those at Evil Geniuses on the back end and the executives, do you think that the community just was so outwardly against, like they were so predatory in the way that they treated him and X, Y, and Z? I don't know Nicole very well, the CEO, but I know that she's got a pretty good head on her shoulders and has had more of a gentle touch in how they treat their players, or at least say they treat their players. Do you think that she was really like sitting in the background, just doing everything she could to prey on this young kid and his talent, and was trying her damnedest to like brush this under the rug and really mishandle this kid's life and career? No, there's no world where she was just fucking Mr. Burns, slapping her fingers together like, how am I gonna fucking make this work out for me and Evil Geniuses? But at the same time, and this is aside from Evil Geniuses, Nicole, and I feel terrible for Danny. I whether it's right or not, I feel terrible for Evil Geniuses that they're in this place. I don't know that story, so I don't have an opinion on what they should have done or how it should have been handled. But, oh man, what the fuck was I just about to say? Oh, players' salaries are obviously coming down. I think there's a little bit of a reset of expectation of what agents are trying to get for the players and what they should be paid. In general, in professional sports, when you make an investment on a contract, like think about the NFL, man, most of these contracts aren't even guaranteed, right? And some contracts in esports are guaranteed, some aren't. And, I don't want to go down the nuances of how these contracts have been inked together and how these deals come to be. But players have so much power if they are in the right place at the right time. And anytime an organization moves on from a player or moves swiftly to remove a player from that roster, the entire community rallies around the player, like, oh, that was so unfair. I can't believe that you're not on the team anymore, yada, yada, yada. But in general, it's like if from the outside looking in, you see teams not being able to monetize and not build a great, profitable business in esports, and when they're spending too much on a player that doesn't make sense and they're not performing well, when we lose, the players say all good, go next. But if we're trying to build a real sustainable business, and a lot of like marketing budgets that companies will spend are around the attention that you're bringing to the team, winning is one of the quickest ways to build like a very successful partnerships lineup and portfolio. Team Liquid's a great example that has done this really, really, really well.
Yeah.
If players aren't performing, or you're spending too much money on a team or a player at any given time, in professional sports, you can cut the cord pretty quickly and nobody has anything to say about that organization. But if you do that in esports, you're insensitive, you mishandled the situation. How could you fucking do that to this player? He didn't deserve that type of treatment. But it's, in my mind, it's almost like they want to have their cake and eat it too. You want the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You want this prime opportunity. And this is 100% nuanced. Like case to case, I'm sure it's very different. And I'm sure there's esports journalists that foaming at the mouth to like poke holes in the things that I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But from like a surface level, when I break it down that way, I just think that the expectation of what a player delivers for a team and what a team needs from the player, the power dynamic is not stacked in the organization's favor.
Yeah.
The money just doesn't make sense. The performance just doesn't make sense. Like, we're here to fucking win, and we have to win. And I have a great relationship with all of our players, but I don't think the community does a great job of being empathetic towards the organizations and just see it as like these corporate shills that don't know what the fuck they're doing and don't give a fuck about these kids.
Yeah.
I promise you 9 times out of 10 in the executives I've met in esports, that is not the case.
Yeah.
And I think people's minds are stained behind or from the past of organizations coming in, really fucking over players, not paying them, like the early days when things were like the wild, wild west. But now with the structure that we have and everybody wants to complain about the venture money and you're not profitable, that's actually brought a lot of stability to the players and the organizations and these relationships they have. I hope I got to the point when we watch all this back of what I was trying to say. I'm not saying that organizations don't have any responsibility towards the players. I just don't think that the community is fair in the opinions that they form, and when these actions and moments and situations play out, the organization is always the bad guy. Always.
Yeah, I'd say.
Did that make sense? Was that comprehensive? Like, was that coherent?
Yeah.
Did I arrive at a point?
Yeah, I would say so. To relay it back to you, orgs are under a lot of pressure as well.
Yeah.
To win, and with the lens that fans are looking at orgs and the history of esports in general, people are very quick to jump the gun and look at organizations as the villains when really they're just trying to run a business, keep it afloat, and sometimes that conflicts with players and contracts, and then things go awry.
I promise you, like down to my very core, I'm not trying to be divisive right now and say, oh, woe is the organizations, woe is me. I just hope that people can have a rational conversation and a rational thought process around what I'm trying to say, can be empathetic in some capacity or another. And if you completely disagree with me, that's your prerogative. But I just know what I've seen and what I've had to deal with as like an org manager and owner. The power dynamic is just so heavily skewed in the player's favor. And the player is in a really tough position too, because this is their livelihood. They only have a couple years to hopefully make it work. And so that I have a ton of respect for. But at the end of the day, man, we're trying to win. And when we make changes, it's like, hey, fuck you. You guys are just absolutely the worst, and you pieces of shit. I don't know. When I put it that way, I don't think I open up the gates to empathy and a rational conversation.
Yeah.
It's not black and white. And I kind of regret bringing up the Evil Geniuses Danny thing, because again, I have just seen the headlines. And I grazed over one of the articles, but this was at night, and it was like, oh, they did this, then they did that, then she said this, they did that. I was like, I can't even follow this timeline right now. I have no idea how this shaked out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think we just got a topic of esports and some therapy, just therapy in motion and live in the moment.
Yeah. It's very nuanced, and there's going to be people that agree with you and people that disagree with you, and the internet's going to do what it does, but that's the nature of your reality.
Yeah.
So, but to stay on esports, CoD Major 3 this weekend down in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really have a question around this or anything, but what's going on in your head? I know you're super excited for it. Kind of just give you the floor to talk Major 3.
Yeah, you teed me up perfectly. Well, I'll tell you this. I've been saying this on stream the last couple of days. Playing ranked play has made me appreciate how hard this game actually is for professional players on stage nowadays. Not because the game has gotten harder from shooting somebody. It's become exponentially more difficult because there's no red dots on the minimap. And Rambo, the former coach of Optic, who all the criticism that he's gotten is a really great mind for the game and always played the game correctly when he was a player. There really is a game inside of the game. You know, back in the day, anchoring spawns in Black Ops 2 was pretty black and white. You know, you rotate at like 25 to 30 seconds, and there's only certain parts of the map that you really, really need to worry about. But I think the map design inherently makes everybody's lives so much more difficult in this game. Like when you're playing hydroelectric, the way that you need to block spawns is difficult because you're basically out of the fight. And there's certain money hills on Hydro, like P2 and P4, where if you're not all the way on the outskirts of the map and you can play information and watch players cross and see where they're heading, you never really know if somebody is pushing those spawns out or not. And on Hydro, I know that's the topic that I keep bringing up. You have water out on the far left, and then you have ruins and broken, and then you got to worry about dome, and there's just so many routes you can take, and there's so many places a player could be. It makes somebody like me who wants to play with as much structure as possible really difficult to feel comfortable on the map because you never know where somebody might be lying or waiting for you. And so there's times on the hill, again, I'm still new to the game. I've only been playing for a week, but you know, on P1 on Hydro, if you get bad spawns on the opposite side of the map, full 60 seconds, I'm just hoping my 3 teammates can fight the hill, not give up like a full 60-second juicer, and I can work the outskirts and try to get a spawns for the next. And I'm having to fight like a 1v1 or a 1v2, and it's really a game inside of a game. So when I would get frustrated watching the players on stage in the first couple tournaments of the year, I'm like, yo, how did we not trade out this killer? Why are we out of position? I just didn't realize how much these players actually have to worry about beyond just what's in front of us on any given map or any given mode. So I'm really excited to watch the major. I'm sad that I can't go, but you know, duty calls. We got a wedding to celebrate, and I can't wait for that. But the game has been much more enjoyable for me. Even when Scump's doing these watch parties, I've been watching some of these matches that I normally wouldn't care about unless it's at the major. I've really been invested in because I can just understand the game that much better. But I think this last week was really fun to watch. The Optic versus FaZe match that they had 2 days ago was actually exhilarating because if Optic lost that match, they would have started in losers bracket at their own major. And so the fact that they beat FaZe in a must-win matchup against one of the best teams in the league, it was pretty fucking unbelievable. I mean, they really rose to the occasion, so that made it that much better. But LA Thieves, it's hard for me to. It's actually now harder for me to watch them play because I feel like I actually understand the game pretty well. Not the level that they do, but something as Hotel Hardpoint versus Boston Breach the other day. I mean, there were moments when there was like 25, 30 seconds left in the first hill and we don't have spawns for P2 and we're still fighting there. Now I can't talk too outwardly to my chat because I don't want them to think that I don't believe that they understand how to play the game the right way, because they certainly are better than I do and they certainly understand the game better. But small decisions like that, in my mind as a former player, I'm like, okay, fuck the P1, bro. We need P2 spawns. Somebody should have taken a route 5 seconds ago. We're already late. And so there's just moments where our team, they look like the best team in the game, and other moments where they play a map and I'm like, what the fuck just happened and why did we play that so poorly? So I'm really optimistic about LA Thieves. What we showed at the last major, we almost made the greatest losers bracket run in history. We were 16-1 map count going into the finals, and we fell short versus FaZe. But any given tournament, I think LA Thieves can win. So I'm really excited for those boys. And I'm really excited for a lot of these other teams because they have some young, hungry players that are really, making a name for themselves. So it just feels like there's so much momentum and excitement around the league. Rank play has certainly helped that, but I got worried that Scump walking away would have less interest around the league. But even Hitch, Hitch is actually Hitch. I fucking love Hitch. I think he's got something and has made a career for himself that a lot of other people in the gaming community have tried to do, but he did it very successfully, and he was persistent, and now he's in a great place with Optic. But he's actually been like a vocal hater of Modern Warfare 2, and I just don't fucking get it, if I'm being honest. I actually think Call of Duty Esports Maybe because I was far removed from it for the last couple of years beyond LA Thieves, I wasn't really playing the games that much. I was just watching and I was a fan. I don't think we've ever had more storylines and this much excitement around Call of Duty in a very long time. The proof is in the pudding. Rank play TikToks are popping. The playlist has been incredible. I know that the time to kill is too fast. I know the headshot multiplier really leads to very fluky 50-50 gunfights, and it's maddening to play for myself. And I know some of these maps and game modes are just fucking terrible. Like Fortress Control, when you're on offense, you are fucked if you're playing a good team. I mean, you need a miracle moment to win, and the odds are stacked so heavily against you. And that remains true for a lot of these other like Control is not that much fun to play. It's actually pretty fun to watch. This is the conundrum that Call of Duty's ever been in, or has always been in. Blitz was a really fucking pressured, fluky, hard game mode to play for the players, and you're just fucking paranoid the entire time. But it was really, really enjoyable for the viewer. And Control, I think, is actually fun to watch, but it's not great to play. And again, these maps, some of them just don't make sense for competitive Call of Duty. Like Hydro is a perfect example. You got people, in the water blocking spawns, and you get spawned next to each other sometimes, even when you're blocking. It's a fucking mess. But beyond all the shortcomings, every game has those shortcomings. Every single game, every single year has something that's wrong with it that makes it less enjoyable to play, but we still make it work, and we've always made it work. So my example of bringing up Davis, in some way or another, I'm almost like, yo, have you seen what the fuck we've dealt with in the past? I don't think this is nearly of a bad situation as we've had in our history. And this is the most excited that I've ever seen the community, not the players, but the community around the league, the CDL era, rank play. This is the esports conversation. It's just, there's so much negativity. Everybody wants their opinion to be heard. And I almost feel like we can't ignore what's wrong with the game. And there definitely needs to be people that champion this rhetoric, and hopefully Call of Duty listens, but we know they don't. So we kind of got to just at a certain point enjoy what we have and make the most of it.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there's anything productive about, I don't want to even say fear mongering, but Davis put out a tweet that was like, what am I fucking playing? This is disgusting. This is so bad. I'm like, man, I've been around for a very, very long time, and this is the most that I've ever cared and played competitive Call of Duty.
Yeah.
What do we have to complain about,
Yeah. The scene itself is super interesting right now. And I think, too, you touched a little bit on the watch parties, and with COD being on Twitch, I don't know what's going on.
They go to YouTube, I'll be fucking mind blown.
Yeah. But for someone like me, a casual fan, having that commentary and those watch parties has been awesome, both for context on what's going on behind the scenes, but like you said, with the storylines and having people that can accurately speak on what's going on and like give, a respected take as well.
Yeah. I'm so excited for Call of Duty right now. If we go back to YouTube for live streaming and broadcasting rights, nothing will ever make sense about that decision.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that the league isn't making a ton of money. This deal with YouTube, it's not going to be life-changing for the league or any of the teams. Why make our lives harder? You're just shooting ourselves in the foot. If they go to YouTube, it'll be fucking blood in the streets, dude.
Does Activision own the CDL, or do they? Okay. Well then, I feel like,
and even throughout these last couple of years, it's like, why aren't the owners, bro? I don't even go to the fucking owners meetings, and I know people are gonna have a harsh opinion about that, brother. They do not listen.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the employees that run the CDL, because they just have marching orders from the top, and there's things that they can impact. I'm not saying that their jobs are meaningless. They definitely have built and have done an amazing job of what everybody thought the CDL era was going to be absolutely awful. I think there's a perspective that you can take where the CDL era has actually made competitive Call of Duty pretty exciting. Yeah. These consistent regionally based teams, I don't think the regions really matter that much. I think we kind of slow down progress by taking away some of the old guard names that were around for Call of Duty. But I think there's just continuity year to year in the off season. some of the same players being around for longer than just a couple years. I don't know. That one I don't really have a great take on, just because there's a lot of nuance. We could be here all day, and I could say some things that are right, say some things that are wrong. But in general, I'm just really excited about Call of Duty right now. I think there's no world where CDL should go to YouTube, but I also think that the players in the community, even though some of these maps and some moments in the game are awful, it's better than what we've had in the past. Like, we could still be playing fucking World War II or Infinite Warfare right now, and we're not.
Yeah.
We've got a rank play system that's actually really fun to watch and really fun to play. Viewership for every pro player has gone up. I mean, I've got 9,000 viewers without a host, without a raid, just playing ranked. Dude, that is fucking mind-blowing, and we need to appreciate that for what it is. You got to take the good with the bad.
I can't remember the last time I watched multiplayer Call of Duty.
That's what I'm saying, man. I actually want to pull up this tweet just so that I know for a fact what he said. Hitch said, I'm getting there close. He said, what a depressing esport COD has become.
Hot take.
Brother, that's not even a hot take. That is so far off the reservation. But from Hit, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying that's even more egregious. But that's the thing. We have to be empathetic, and we have to see both sides. From Hitch's perspective, I'm sure that's absolutely true. There's no way you tweet something out like this and you don't feel that way. I get that. But I just can't put myself in his shoes, and maybe it'd be a great debate to have. I just don't know how or why you could feel that way in this moment in time with all the good things we have going. Certainly bad. There's certainly bad. It's always going to be that way. But what is depressing about what we have right now? I mean, the last major with co-streaming, barring we don't go back to YouTube, was like the third highest viewed event that Call of Duty's ever had in its history. We've got more people talking about ranked play. I mean, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes and views and engagement on TikTok, all around ranked.
Yeah.
How is this depressing?
It's funny to think too with Activision for how much they've like fucked up with Warzone. Like, Warzone's dying, and all of a sudden I almost feel like this kind of just fell in their lap, where all that's going wrong, they have stumbled upon like good rank play, COD competitive being back on Twitch, and everybody again is just talking about COD and loving it.
Yeah.
But besides that, are we going to see any Nadeshot watch parties?
I talked about this on stream too. I mean, I think I was asleep at the wheel to see the success that Zuma and Scump have had with the watch parties. I've never been a big fan of watching because my time that I have to stream is few and far between. And when I have the time to play and actually get on stream, I want to play. Like, I want to compete. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt with Valorant. That's how I feel with Call of Duty right now. But now that I've, like I said, understand the game better, watching is certainly more fun for me. And I wish I would have done it sooner. I just never had a desire to watch instead of playing. So I think I'll have some guest appearances on Scump stream, and me and Zuma definitely need to get into TeamSpeak and chop it up during these watch parties. But I don't know if there's ever going to be like a very strategic production.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know.
All right, well, we got LA Thieves FaZe round 1. What's your prediction?
It's just going to come down to who's hot in that moment in time. That's a really tough matchup for both teams to have right out of the gate. I really love the old formats that we had in the Major League Gaming era, because you had pool play and you would play 3 teams, and then you would have another match in that pool play with the team that came from open bracket. So even if you came out flat in your first series, which tends to happen, whether it's your team or the team that you're playing against, that first match never really feels like people got settled in and were ready for that caliber of a match. And from that standpoint, I just think it feels impossible to try to boil down who's going to win, because even if FaZe comes out on top and LA Thieves comes out on top, I just don't know if it's a fair matchup. That's a finals match from the last major, and it's going to happen in the first round, coming in, cold and dry, and it's just not where I'd want them to play. We just have to win a search and destroy. I think we can take the first hard point depending on the map. Search is always gonna be a necessity. I mean, if you look at what we did in New York last year and the COD championships, We just started winning search and destroys. You cannot win a tournament or an event if you can't take at least one of the search and destroys. It's fucking impossible. Control is a complete toss-up. We've seen how we've played on El Sayo. That was like the map that broke the camel's back. That's where our tournament hopes went sour in the last major versus FaZe. So we have to win the search.
Yeah.
Got to win searches, man. You cannot win an event if you cannot win search and destroy. We get 2v1 and man advantage and end up losing rounds more than I feel like I've ever seen. But I think that's just because I'm so close to and so invested in the team. I mean, Minnesota Rocker, they're on like a 10-game, 11-game now search and destroy losing streak. You're fucked.
Yeah.
Got to win search.
Okay.
And FaZe, that's why even last year in the CoD Champs, I was so worried about that matchup because even though they hadn't shown that championship caliber moments at tournaments, they would always get second place. Abizi, Celium, and Simp all came up in the second half of like the Call of Duty competitive era through search and destroy. That's all that they fucking did. Mm-hmm. And pro players, even now, scrims, I don't think people take search that serious. I mean, they do and they don't. It really depends. They're a really, I mean, that's a really well-rounded team just because their DNA is truly search and destroy.
Yeah.
Anytime you can beat FaZe in search, you got a great chance of beating them in a series. But they're a really hard team to beat.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Nathan, how long have we been running?
About an hour 30.
We've been going for an hour and 30. Holy fuck, we got these boys hostage here. Yeah. Holy shit. All right. Well, I got to get home. I got to go catch up with John. This is a great episode.
Yeah. I appreciate a lot of the insights. I think people too will appreciate hearing your thoughts on a lot of this. So,
ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Nadeshot Knows or whatever the fuck we're calling this. We'll see you guys back here hopefully real soon when we get back from this wedding, as long as our plane doesn't crash. I think about it every time.
Yeah. We'll talk about that on the next episode.
I hope you guys have a fantastic day. YouTube, we'll see you fudging later. Goodbye.